the idea of the whole Surge Art concept is to allow good quality, original, unique pieces of art to be accessible, available to a much wider audience of people. So way back in 2006 when we started, there was very, very limited amounts of good quality work that could be bought in China outside of there's galleries that were selling for tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. There was very few available auction pieces that were good quality. And really it was very hard to get works unless you went directly to the artists. But of course many people didn't know where the artists were or how to get there or how to communicate with them. So I did a show first of all in 2006 with a number of up and coming interesting artists where all the price was very, very accessible and it was very popular. A lot of people liked it. And that grew and grew and grew over the years. And at the same time as we were discovering that people wanted to buy good quality art, we discovered that there was a lot of artists who wanted a platform to show their work. So now it's become one of the largest platforms in China for young people, emerging artists, for newly discovered talent to showcase their work, to be seen not just by hundreds of thousands of people online and through the fairs we do, but by professionals, for museum directors, for curators, for art buyers, for international museum directors, and they can come and discover some new talent as well. And this gives the artist then the first step on the ladder to climb their career in art. Well, very simply, the focus is about the artist. So I think originally there was, when I started this, it was trying to get some works at a price point that was a bit more accessible to me and people like me. But I think then we realised that a lot more of it over the years as we started to work with, instead of just a few dozen artists, we started to work with thousands of artists. And so the focus is very much about the artists, who the artists are, how to develop them, how to promote them and see these artists grow and grow and grow. So the focus is very much about discovering new talent. So we spend all year both proactively going out and reactively looking at what comes in. So when I say proactively going out, we obviously are going to the art communities in Beijing, in Shanghai, in Chengdu, in all the big art areas. We also spend a lot of time working with schools, from the Central Academy of Fine Arts in Beijing to the China Academy of Fine Arts in Hangzhou, the Sichuan Academy of Fine Arts as well. So many of these art schools, big art schools from all over the country we work with, we have relationships with, we go there and we talk to the students. We travel the whole country looking at artworks in studios, in art communities and villages all over the country, including Hong Kong and Taipei, as well as Nanjing, Hangzhou, Shenzhen, all the way through the whole of the country, trying to find the best talent available. We then ask them to apply through the online platform, and of course they also tell their friends and other communities that they can apply through the online site. And then what we do is we filter down all of those tens of thousands of applications with, first of all, ourselves internally. We cut down those to make sure we pick out the best ones, and then with an external panel of expert judges we use, who are curators and critics, artists and museum directors. They help us pick down from, again, the thousands maybe to the hundreds of the best artists that we then put on show. Yeah, I mean, in terms of subject matter, there's been quite a few changes over the last 8 years. I mean, 8 years ago there was much of the art was faces. We had a lot of this sort of the first wave of the famous artists that had Yuan Minjun with the smiley faces. There was a lot of portraits and a lot of pop art sort of styles, and many of the more emerging artists were going along with some of that pop art notion. Perhaps that then evolved into a little bit more social commentary, a little bit more talking about consumerism, the wealth divide, some of the other social issues that were going on. And now, as we saw, there's increasingly sort of the artists focusing on themselves. So in terms of subject matter, there's definitely been an evolution, and that's constantly changing. And I don't think it moves every single year. And so we've seen that in terms of the applications that come into us, and we've also seen that in terms of what people are buying. From both sides, we can see very rapidly the changes, and every single year there are a lot of changes. We may have one year where one artist is selling particularly well, and then a year later no one wants to buy his works because maybe that era has waned off a little bit. Likewise, we may have worked with some artists for several years who suddenly become a lot more popular when the mass market perhaps really starts to appreciate their work. In terms of the consumer habits as well, I think we've seen the biggest change is the type of buyers that we work with, or come to see the shows. Previously, when it was very dominated by the international community, international buyers, and also the very high-end, wealthy Chinese buyers who are perhaps buying for investment reasons. We've seen that shift very much in the last few years to be a lot more younger buyers, a lot more buyers from China who perhaps have bought a car, bought a house, want something to decorate with. They're still in their late 20s, early 30s. They're beginning to get the notion of consumerism as perhaps culture, as opposed to as something that just is a way of showing off wealth. So before, when they may have had disposable income and spending it on handbags or luxury items, they're now spending it perhaps on something cultural, not necessarily a physical art piece. It might be on holidays, it might be on a skiing trip, it might be on something that shows that they have a deeper level of lifestyle and culture. And that's something we've seen over the last few years, is that sort of luxury spending has really sort of peaked.